Some say Chinese is one of the most difficult languages in the world, and learning it is almost impossible.
So learning Chinese, the most difficult thing.
非常非常非常非常非常难
So I'm sort of tone deaf. I can't really hear them.
I think the cultural mindset is the biggest complication for
The
us.
grammar.
知吃思诗都还难
It's just complicated so much.
Only because you're not learning it in the right way. Why not try Takeaway Chinese, where you can take some Chinese away and experience progress day by day. Takeaway Chinese, we will promise you a difference.
你好，欢迎收听随行汉语 Welcome to Takeaway Chinese. I'm Niu Honglin. Joining me today, the athletic and artsy Tony Reed.
Hey, Niuniu.
Hi, great to have you here as always.
Good to have you, and good to be learning some more Chinese.
Yes, and I want to learn something from you as well.
What's
and
that?
I am doing that all the time. A recent topic would be art. You're an artist. I say you're artsy because you're an artist.
Yes.
你是一位艺术家。
艺术家.
艺术家, that's who you are, artist.
Let me write that down.
艺术 art.
艺术
艺术家 artist.
家.
So I bet you go to a lot of galleries.
I wouldn't say a lot, but I do go to some music, or a few.
Galleries.
Of course, 七九八.
798 art
Go
museums.
there. And if there's an exhibition of some sort of an artist that I follow, then I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, that is great. And I believe in the future, if we have the chance, I will invite you to go to a museum with me and explain the art to me.
Oh, okay. Well, I would love to go to the exhibition. I'm not sure how good I would be at explaining
You
it.
will.
but-
You'll tell me your understanding from an artist's perspective.
Okay.
And I think the thing about museums, 博物馆 or galleries, 艺术馆 or just, painting exhibition, 画展, is that you take yourself out of the day in, day out life of yours, out of the busy working, everyday routine, and you take a pause and you take a look at the let's say jewels on human civilization, the exhibitions in museums, in art galleries. You think about and you try to understand how others take a look at the world, how others see the world, and how they interpret them into certain pieces of artwork or into a antique that they put in the museum.
Yeah, it's like putting on a new set of eyes.
A new set of eyes,
Yeah.
which is why going to museums is something I personally very much like to do in my free time. And also, I hope more people can visit museums to, relax and feel better about the world, about themselves. And that is particularly true on the International Museum Day, 博物馆日, which falls on the 18th of May. And that is also going to be the topic of today's Takeaway Chinese. So for our dear listeners, if you're interested in Chinese culture and you want to get a grip with the Chinese language, then this is the show for you. Stick with us for 30 minutes and you soon see the rewards. And for more fun Chinese learning, follow our Facebook page, CRI Learn Chinese, to watch many fun videos and live streams. But now, let's provide you with some free Chinese for takeaway. 我买了北京的博物馆通票。今天要去博物馆泡一天，玩得愉快。哎，你怎么回来了？周一闭馆不开门。
This is kind of
Funny conversation.
a very unfortunate situation.
Well, things happen, and I think it's kind of funny. Things don't go your way, but you can always adjust and find a opportunity for the next time.
But I've had these experiences before because, my Chinese isn't anywhere near fluent. And sometimes I'll go places expecting for them to be open. And for whatever reason, they'll just be closed on that random day that I decide to go there. And so this experience of just kind of walking away with your head down, I've experienced it before.
Okay, so let's get to the conversation first and discuss your unfortunate experience later. So, for the first sentence, 我买了北京的博物馆通票，今天要去博物馆泡一天。
So I bought a museum pass in Beijing, and I'm going to spend a day in the museum today.
Yes.
So 我买了. So this is 买 is buy, and 了 is kind of, like you've already done it.
Yes.
So I already bought 北京的博物馆.
Beijing
So
的博物馆.
this is a Beijing museum. And then 通票 is a ticket, right?
A ticket.
So I bought a Beijing ticket.
That's so close.
So close.
So close. Actually, a 博物馆通票 is actually a thorough ticket for all the museums. All the museums in Beijing. So 北京的博物馆通票. I think you've all got the experience of visiting a certain place. For example, a city, and you're going to spend 5 to 7 days in the city. You want to see everything. And in that sense, the best way to save money and be efficient is to buy this kind of ticket. I think it can be called as a through ticket or somehow yearly ticket or 7-day pass. So that you can, there will be number of tourist destinations listed on it.
Right.
So with that, you can visit all of them as you wish in this certain period of time.
Oh, yeah.
And in Chinese, we call it 通票. 通 carries the meaning of generally or through. So you can go through all of them, and they always have a time period. So for example, some are 7 days.
Sure.
And it will be cheap, and it will include a lot of museums and destinations.
Yeah.
And in other cases, you can also buy an annual pass. And the annual pass can be for one museum or be for a lot of museums in Beijing. That we call it 博物馆通票, 北京的博物馆通票. So yes, that's the idea. 我买了北京的博物馆通票.
And then we have a 今天要去. So today, 我要去, I want to go. And then 博物馆泡一天.
Yes.
So 博物馆 is a museum. And pao, this is kind of an interesting word.
It is an interesting
like
word.
A to soak or
Yeah, that is an interesting word because pao in itself, it can mean bubble. Pao pao, bubble. It's cute. Pao pao, bubble. And it can be a verb. You might have heard the verb 泡茶.
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 No
泡
茶is tea, but
tea. So 泡茶is make tea. The reason we use 泡 in the word 泡茶 is that 泡 carries the meaning of soak, of putting something inside something for a while, inside a liquid for a while. So 冲泡. So 泡茶 would be make tea, of course, but you leave the tea in the water for a while to make the tea. So 泡 would mean to spend a long time in something. So 泡, for example, 泡博物馆, it would mean that I would be spending a lot of time in 博物馆, in the museum.
so marinating in the museum.
I like that, marinating in the museum, yes. So you can use 泡 in that sense. I think it's more like slowing down your speed or pace of life. So if you say 泡, for example, 泡网吧, some people would say that feel like decades ago, where they stay in an internet cafe for a whole day.
Whole day.
Or
Unbelievable.
yeah, sometimes it's just a long time. So when you're spending a long time on something that's not necessarily requires that long period of time, it's your own choice. Then we use 泡 as a verb. You do something like that.
Slacker, huh?
It's a little bit slacking, a little bit like, dilly-dally.
Diddle-daddling, yeah.
Diddle-daddling? That's a fun word. And it spans your time. 泡, that's the verb. And of course, there are other verbs kind of like that. So it originally means something, and you borrow the meaning, you borrow the feeling of that verb and use it in other scenarios. For example, 蹭. 蹭 is another thing. Do you know what 蹭 is?
No.
蹭 originally is rub. So if a bear got itchy, it will rub its body against a tree, against a trunk. That move,
right.
that rub is 蹭. 蹭. So yeah, that is the verb. And So that's the original meaning, but people also use it to mean to be smeared with something, to scratch a little bit something off someone. So I can say things like 蹭 Wi-Fi. 蹭 Wi-Fi would mean this place has Wi-Fi signal and I'm here using their Wi-Fi. It's not mine, I'm not paying for it, but I'm using it. I'm just using a little bit of it, so I'm using the verb 蹭. Or people say 蹭网, similar idea. So
sponging off
of a little bit like that. So if you think about the verb, the original meaning of the verb always have a little bit of something to do with the figurative meaning of it.
Okay.
Yes, so 泡 and 蹭, I hope you guys can take that away. And after that, part B said 玩得愉快. 哎，你怎么回来了?
So this means have a good time and hey, what are you doing back?
Have a good time. 玩得愉快. Here is the famous structure of a verb plus the plus a adverb describing the verb. So 玩得愉快. 玩 is play. 愉快 happy. This is like another way of saying happy. What's the common way of saying happy?
开心.
开心,
Right?
yes, open heart. 开心, happy. Okay.
Oh, 开 means open, right?
Open, yeah, 开心. Or 快乐 is another happy. 快乐 because 节日快乐 happy festival.
Doesn't that mean like happy, fast or something coming fast to you?
快 means fast,
Right.
but 快乐 is happy. So,
Okay.
生日快乐 happy birthday. So, 快乐 is the jump up and down happy. 愉快 is the chill and relaxing happy.
Okay.
That is why when you are spending time in a museum, you don't want to be too noisy, so you choose 愉快 instead of 快乐. So 玩得愉快 is kind of like a set phrase. You can remember it. 玩得愉快.
玩 or 玩的?
Both fine.
Okay. 玩得愉快.
Have a good time.
And then I or a, or this is a different way to say it, right?
It's just hey.
你怎么? So 怎么 here, this is like how.
How
right?
come? Or
Not necessarily why. It's like how did you do something?
yeah,
Okay, so 你怎么回来? So this is
回来.
come back.
Come back.
And then yeah, 了
了,
just
yeah.
kind of signifies it happened already.
你怎么回来了? What are you doing back? How come you're back? Why you're back?
Okay.
周一闭馆不开门. Sad, huh?
周一, this is Monday,
Monday.
right? 闭馆, this is闭馆 is closed, right?
闭 is closed. 馆 is 博物馆 is the 博物馆馆. So, it's kind of like a venue, a place. We say 闭馆. It's an official term for a official place is closed. So 博物馆闭馆 meaning that the museum is closed. You can also say 图书馆闭馆. So the library is closed. As long as there is this character 馆 in the term itself, you can say 闭馆 to mean it's closed. So this is the word you can see in a notice. You can read on a notice, stick it on the wall of a certain 馆. But it's always talking about this kind of venue with little bit sense of cultural related. You cannot say 饭馆闭馆. So the restaurant cannot use 闭馆 to talk about a restaurant, even though they might have the character 馆 in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an exhibition kind of place. You can use 闭馆.
So what about for a restaurant if they're not open? How
You
would
just say 不开门.
不开门.
不开门, don't
that's
open
easier.
door.
Okay.
It is easy. Or you can say 不营业, don't operate.
Okay.
不营业, that works as well. So 闭馆 is an official term for culture-related venues. When you want to say it's closed, you can say 闭馆. 闭馆.
And then 不开门.
不开门, not open. 闭
That's
馆
too
不开门.
bad. Went on the wrong day. Yes, I've had this experience before.
And actually, Mondays are generally the day that art museums, galleries take a day off because they want to be able to allow people to visit during weekends. So weekends are not their off days. They choose Monday to be their off days. I think it's kind of like a customary everywhere already.
Well, yeah, I guess you learn that later after you've gone a few places and realize
Yes,
that for some
true.
reason it's closed on Monday
That's
of
true.
all days. So,
Yeah, that's about it. How about we practice the conversation?
all right, let's do it.
我买了北京的博物馆通票，今天要去博物馆泡一天。
玩得愉快。哎，你怎么回来了？
周一闭馆不开门。You're listening to Takeaway Chinese with myself, Niu and Tony. We would love to hear from you. Send us your thoughts by email to learnchinese@cri.com.cn. Coming up next, we are going to discuss all about museums and, of course, the Museum Day, which falls on the 18th of May. Don't go away, so you will take some Chinese away. Welcome back to Takeaway Chinese. I'm Niu Honglin with Tony in the studio. Tony, what is your favorite museum?
Well, that's a big question.
Okay, do you know how to say what is your favorite museum in Chinese?
你最喜欢哪个博物馆？
Perfect. So, 你最喜欢哪个博物馆? Which is your favorite museum? Do you have one?
I have one. It's in Baltimore, Maryland, in the U.S. And I mean, so far, it's one of my favorites because it tells the story of I'm African American, so it tells our story of how we came to the U.S. and before we came to the U.S. So it's an extended story, and everything is in wax sculptures.
Well, that's
So
cool.
you can see everything, even though some of it is horrific. You can still see it in a wax, like sculpture. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. And when I was asking you this question, I realized that I don't have a favorite museum.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, seriously. But I do have certain traits I want from a museum. 我希望这个博物馆有一些特点. So I want certain characters, so certain special points of the museum. I would hope that the museum has guides, possibly audio guide. So
Audio
语音
guide.
导览, that's what you say. 语音导览, audio guide, so that I can, put in a headset, a earplug, and listen to the stories behind all the museums. And I want it to be designed in a special way. Of course, chronological would work, but if the, let's say, curator has a special design, like telling a story or comparing different items in the same time, or comparing different items in the same place in different time, that'll be even better. Or if they tell a story through these exhibitions, that I would say is a wow factor of the museum. And yeah, so what are some traits you would like a museum to have?
I guess just something that's I like for example, when I went to San Francisco and I did the Alcatraz tour, where I went and I saw this famous prison, and there was these we had these headsets, and so you would go to different cells, you would go to different places.
Oh,
in
I've
the
done that
prison,
too, yeah,
and you
in
can
Australia.
hear some of what happened and what was going on, and so I guess that realism of it, I think, is
It recreates the experience in a long time ago. It makes you feel like you're immersed in the environment, in the scenario.
right.
Yeah. And another thing I think you touched upon is that you visited that used to be a prison
Right.
place. So I would personally prefer a museum to be special. Like I hope the building of the museum itself is something special, is a
right.
artwork itself.
Yeah.
Like the Louvre. And
the Louvre, yeah.
Yeah, and of course China's Palace Museum, because we know 故宫博物院 Palace Museum. 故宫博物院 in itself, it was the Forbidden City. It was the building where the ancient empress lived in, and it was a kind of like a. Well, it is a palace. It is a palace in itself, which makes all the architecture 建筑 within the Palace Museum special enough.
建筑, what is this?
建筑 architecture. Architecture 建筑 or buildings are special enough in itself. You can appreciate the museum, not only appreciating the exhibition in it, but also the museum itself. Emperors living in Qing and Ming dynasty used the Palace Museum as the actual palace. And actually, 2020 also marks the 95th anniversary of the establishment of the Palace Museum itself, not only the construction of the Forbidden City, Zijincheng, but and also in 1987, it was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Have you visited 故宫博物院?
Of course. I was hoping I could kind of look at where the king, or not the king, the emperor, where he lived and he stayed. But, I guess mainly when I went there, I got to see, different structures in the garden, and then like, I don't know if you want to call it a courtyard, or it's just a really big,
后花园,
it's
courtyard,
huge,
yes.
But I wanted to kind of check out how people lived inside of the structures. But I don't know is that open for the public yet?
No, I don't think it's ever open for the public. There is a rope there. You can stand outside of the room and take a look, but you cannot go inside.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've ever got to see those rooms, and I think that's what I would like to see the next time I check it out.
It won't be really big rooms. You would think that emperors live a extravagant life.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's forbidden, right? You can't go in there, so I would imagine
no,
it's like paradise in there.
It's not because of that. It's because you want to preserve the old rooms and all the items in it. That's why people are not allowed to enter the room to observe. Of course, you can always stand outside of the room and, sneak peek in it. And the living rooms, we say 寝宫啊. 宫 is palace. So for emperors, they would view all of their rooms as a sub-palace, a small palace. We use the character 宫. 寝 is sleep in ancient terms. 寝宫 would be the sleeping palace, the sleeping rooms. It is believed in traditional Chinese medicine that when you are sleeping, your qi, your aura, would start going out of your body to, float around a little bit and come back when you wake up. And that is why ancient people didn't build huge bedrooms. You can have huge living rooms, you can have huge meeting rooms and maybe offices, but no huge bedrooms. Bedrooms are supposed to be small and cozy and allow your qi to fill up the space, to rest and to come back to your body soon enough.
Okay.
It's a funny concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's about the bedroom, 寝宫 or 寝室. So that's Palace Museum. And I believe that the Palace Museum has been stepping up with the trend, with the development of a digital society, digital world, and have established a online tour, virtual tour, which a lot of other museums are doing as well. I believe the British Museum also allows people to visit it online, looking at pictures of all the exhibitions. And that is really a good thing. We say 虚拟游览, 虚拟游览.
Okay. I think that this would be good for people who may have already been to that, place, but they want to maybe go back to see
some details.
One detail or a few details that they didn't see before. And then, I guess I could see myself paying to, check it out online. But if I've never been there, I think I would like to definitely, have the experience of seeing it, in the flesh, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another reason why I want to go back, and that's because there's a famous well that I've read about that someone was apparently pushed into many years ago. I believe
really?
it was a war, like not like a physical war, but like there was one woman that didn't like another woman, and battling for the emperor's heart. And one of them got angry and pushed the other one into a well and threw a rock inside.
Yeah, that's
to make sure she didn't come out, and that's just a creepy story. So I want to check that out. I want to make sure I go, and I feel like it also has inspired me to, I do a little bit of writing for stories, and it inspired one of my dark studio stories.
Yeah, I would totally check that story out. And that's another thing I like about ancient buildings transformed to museums, because there's always a story.
Oh yeah, lots of stories.
Lots of stories, legends, mysteries, in just, city or urban myth that's dwelling around that architecture. Urban legends.
Like it's haunted if you go to the Forbidden City at night.
Yes, but the main thing about museums is always that it is a proof of the road human civilization has taken. It allows us to, again, take a step back from our everyday, day in, day out life and start checking out what the history has been like, what actually lead us here, what created the modern life that we are enjoying now.
Right.
So yes, on the International Museum Day, 世界博物馆日, make sure you check out a museum. Maybe if you don't have the time, you can always check out a museum online. Go to the virtual tour, for example, and really take a look at the beautiful exhibitions in all these amazing architectures. It's a great way to relax and to enjoy a little bit.
Indeed.